Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order, the Board of Selectmen, October 1st, 2024. Roll call, myself, Bob Carlson, the first selectman. We also have Selectman Brett Mastriani, Selectwoman Nicole Porter, and our Finance, Administration and Finance Officer, oh God, Suzanne Thero. Oh my God. I know it's been 4 different names over there for the last few months, so I'm trying to think which one you were, but you're the good one. Thanks, Suzanne. Sorry about that. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
See, John, that's what happens when you get old. You just you have these like mental blocks, and I've been with her all day. I think I would know who that is, right? Okay. Sorry about that. Are there any public comments on non-agenda items? Non-agenda items? Yes, Judy. You can either use, Jude, why don't you take that last microphone and just turn that and put it up at the podium? Might be the easiest way to do it.
Actually, just quick and painless. Judy May, Norwich Wesley Road. Bob, Randy, and the town workers, awesome job getting that fencing fixed in front of the school on such a short notice. You guys did amazing.
Thank you. That was a surprise at 4:30 in the morning on a
Yeah.
weekend.
I heard the fire whistle go off at 4 and our lights flickered. My alarm clock flickered, and it was only until I saw your post that I realized somebody had had an accident and run into the fence. So it was fixed before school even started.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a journey too, because after the fence was hit, it went across the green, went airborne because it hit a rise in the grass, airborne, hit the road that goes around, crossed the road, spun around, just missed the school and hit the rocks.
Oh my
It was quite the
God.
ride. And then,
that's scary.
so we are only we put the fence back up. I was over there the other day with Troy, and we are going to fix the sidewalk with his gouges so no one trips. We just put some like they call it sand mix, asphalt sand mix. But then I said, everything else, keep a record of what it costs us to fix the grass, the fence, whatever it has to be, because there's insurance involved, hopefully, and
Absolutely.
we shouldn't have to be paying for that. So, but yes, Drew, thank you. It was good to get it fixed quickly, which we did. Your guy, Randy, was over there. He was in Ashaway, and I think he was on the scene by like 4:45, but he got a message that the school had been hit. So he was very anxious to get there and see what the damage was. Okay. Any other public comment on non-agenda items? Okay, hearing none. I'll look for a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting, which is September 17th.
Yep, so I'll make a motion to approve the Town of North Stonington Board of Selectmen minutes held on September 17th, 2024 at 6:30 PM at the North Stonington Education Center and via Zoom as written.
Second.
Great, thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes of September 17th, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. I approve 3-0. Thank you. Is there any comment by either selectman at this point?
Yeah, I just wanted to, so the email that we received about the tree lighting and the Christmas caroling, because I don't know if all of can you just explain to me what the ask is all on one night and what we're proposing?
So, the library and the tree lighting in the Congregational Church after the tree lighting has been a staple in town for a number of years. Some things have happened over the last few years, unfortunate things like Pat Turner passing away, who she was one of, I think, 3 or 4 women who started that tradition of this thing along. And then Nancy Weissmiller retired this year, and she was leading this thing along. So those 2 things happened. Also, last year, Jen Strunk moved the light parade to that same day, thinking, why not? We already have something happening. And then, as she said, the parade by itself is about a 15-minute event. She likes to tie it in like she does the Frights and Lights in October, ties it into what used to be the No Stove Fest. So it's more of a 3-hour, 2-hour, 3-hour event. So she was hoping to team it with something else. Last year, if we remember, we didn't do a tree lighting because of the rain, and it got moved to Sunday. So it was canceled. I think the library still did their function the same night they were supposed to. I think the Boy Scouts did their same thing at the church. So Mr. Noonan at the Congregational Church this year is adding a concert. I think it's from 4 o'clock to 5:30 at the church. Well, that directly conflicts with what's going on at the library. So I just said to Julie Evans, maybe it's a time that we reconsider all the things we're trying to do and jam them into one night. And it's unfortunate night. One, I'm not going to be there. It's unfortunate for me. But the second thing is, it's unfortunate that it's so late in December this year. December 1st is actually the weekend of Thanksgiving, because Thanksgiving's so late. And December 15th, we're so far into the Christmas season with holiday parties and so on, it's tough to get people to commit. But we are going to try to meet, myself, Julie, Jen, and Amy Kennedy, to see if we can work a way that it all can work, or move one or two events maybe to the 1st. Even though it's Thanksgiving weekend, Thanksgiving's on a Thursday, I wonder if you could still have an open house on that Sunday. I mean, I think it might be far enough removed. So we just kind of had that discussion.
Okay.
Sometimes when you try to do too many things in one night, then there's a lot of things that aren't so great because everyone's rushing from one point to another, and that's where we are with. So it's a little bit of a discussion. We're not canceling anything. It's just a matter of see if we can move it around. If we can't, we'll just try to fit it in better.
Okay. I am in favor. Back when the girls were in school, the chorus and the band both came to the tree lighting, and then they went over to the Congregational Church afterwards as well. I sent an email right before I came. I'm certainly willing.
I saw that.
Brett and I can do a duet and lead the
right.
Christmas caroling.
You didn't
I'm not
mention
sure
Brett.
you want me to.
I don't think you mentioned Brett in that email, but
And Rod too. We gotta add Rod in. He's quite the singer.
so I did say to Troy, and I would say to Julie Evans, that I would like to contact Olivia Black, because the choir has been there the last 2 years, the chorus.
Good.
It makes sense. She said something about the Girl Scouts, but I think the chorus would make more sense, right? Because that's what they do.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's invited, but it would be nice to have the school chorus involved in leading.
I agree.
participating in that.
Especially since the last few years, we haven't made a point to invite them, yet they came anyway.
Yeah.
So that was nice. So
Yeah,
I think it's just luckily we're still far enough away. Thank God. Christmas is still a little ways away, but it does come fast. And if anything else, we're just trying I'm not trying to move anything for my convenience by any means. I'm just trying to see if we can fit it in better, or not having competing events if possible.
okay.
And in a small town, it's tough to have too many things going on the same night.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think if we can strategically time them,
mhm.
so that it's not a really long night, and that might be an opportunity, but I just wanted to say that I would love to invite the chorus formally to
Mm.
see if they can come and participate in the caroling.
If we do meet next week, which is what I had asked, on either Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then I will make sure that I already mentioned that to Troy when I saw him the other day. I also mentioned that to them. That
Okay.
I think that's a great idea. Anything else?
Is there an update on the speed humps on the other half of town?
Which, on the other half of
Well,
town?
not the other half of town, what is that?
You mean the one that's going in tomorrow? That one?
Rocky Hollow.
Oh, tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Okay.
We're closing the
Rocky
road.
Hollow, is that? Yeah.
The road's gonna be closed from, I think, 9 o'clock until 2 o'clock.
Okay, perfect. I just couldn't remember when.
I'm waiting
that
for
was
I'm
happening.
waiting for the fallout tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening on social media.
I was at a completely personal social event and got cornered by somebody that was not necessarily in favor. But I think that,
The small group that is not in favor seems to be louder than the group that is,
Yeah.
but one thing we can do know that we have slowed down traffic in the village.
absolutely. And in light of some of the comments recently about speeding on all of our backcountry roads, I mean, we certainly cannot post 5 police officers all over town to monitor
Once in
speed.
a while, I can do an event like that, but it's like once or twice a year. Typically we have one person, and I actually have asked Jason to be out on Route 2 a lot lately in front of the school when the lights are flashing. He posted one over the other day that was doing 62. So, and it's someone from Stonington, actually. Yeah, I try to get him out there and be more visible, because even if he's parked there, people will slow down, which is the idea, right?
Yeah.
But I could, if I put him on every road that someone asked me for, I'd need like 10 of him.
I know.
So,
I know.
and when I just did the local traffic authority training last it was last Wednesday in Guilford. And every CEO, every police chief was there all saying it's ever since COVID, speeding is by far the biggest problem.
Wow.
It's just that there was less cars on the road during COVID. People started speeding up. Now there's more cars, but people have not changed their driving habits. So unfortunate. But we can't put speed humps on all the roads in town either, nor would I want to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
No,
just-
no, I'm not. For the record, I am not suggesting
No.
speed humps on.
And people do say, well, why is this village getting special preference? Well, if you think what's in the village, so we have a library, we have a school, we have 2 churches, we have a school at the church, we have town hall. I mean, there's a lot of
Yeah.
walking in the village. They have
Yeah.
a brewery. So because of that, there's not one road in town that all those things are on that
Yeah,
road, except in the
I
village. So,
agree.
and
All
it
right.
is nice to see people walking around the village more than they used to. So, all
Thank you.
right, thank you. Brett, do you have anything that you want to add or bring up?
Not at this time.
Okay. I heard a compliment about you today at the COG meeting.
Oh, really?
Yeah, from Tom DeVivo.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, he said, I hear one of your selectmen is quite the salesman.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, he is. And I said, I said, I guess he's doing very well. Okay.
Nice.
Do you know who that is, Tom DeVivo?
Yes, he
Okay.
used to own this,
Okay.
or Willimantic Waste.
All right, selectmen comments. So as you may or may not know, I think you know that we put out capital requests to the people who are the big contributors to our capital plan. They're due in October 7th. I sent out a reminder on, it went out August 16th. I sent another reminder out last week. I do have the Board of Eds. I did talk to Charlie. He feel like he already gave us his, when we had some discussions about the fire company. I should be getting Logan's and the highway garages between now and the 7th, which we'll look at those for the first time on the 15th of October, our next meeting.
And I know, I think I saw something that the library is going to come present next meeting.
October 15th, the
15th.
library's going to become doing their presentation, not their capital presentation, their
No.
presentation on their ask.
Okay.
Okay, that's on the 15th. So I said the 15th could be a different meeting than tonight. So I have
Can I just clarify? So your impression is that they will ask for their usual capital, their usual allotment in the regular
right, which doesn't happen until after the first of the year.
budget? Okay,
So the Board of Finance in the capital committee is just trying to put capital to bed ahead of time like we did last year.
okay.
So we don't go back and take it away later. But we'll do regular budget meetings after the first of the
Okay.
year. And that ask will be in there. We did get a letter from the Conservation Commission. I think it's in your packet. And it was just 2 appointments that we'll deal with when we get down to vacancy and appointments. And I think that on that subject, that's all I want to speak about right now. Anything else on, is my comments. So any comments on my comments? Just hearing none. We kept 298 grounds on this discussion because, I think Brett wanted to talk about it, more than once. I'm sorry. Let's go back. Is Alan online? Okay. Alan asked me if I could add an agenda item, so I'd like to motion to add an agenda item on auction items. We have some things that are no longer a use of the town. He'd like to do a quick little 5-minute presentation to us on how we would propose to get rid of those. I'd like to add line after line 6, make it 6A if you want, colon, auction item discussion.
So move.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Yes, second.
Great. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. So now we're moving to 6A. Alan, if you're online, can you just talk a little bit about the, what you're trying to do with these? It's not a big dollar value, but it's better than nothing. So if you can move on that, that'd be great.
How's that?
Perfect.
Perfect. So we're just there's a few small items that I want to try and go with the auction international. It goes online. It's nationally up for like 2 weeks. They'll come down, take some pictures, get VIN numbers, all that stuff. There's just a bunch of little items that we've collected over the last year in between some different garages and stuff. There's just like a couple generators. There's an old pump. There's some other stuff that the firehouse wanted to get rid of. like the old set of Jaws of Life, the pump that goes with that, an old aluminum door out of one of the old fire trucks when they did a clean out. Just some small stuff that we've collected over probably the past year. I was just thinking about trying the online auction. The guys ran into them at Cash Show, and they had actually contacted me about trying to sell some items. The cool thing is that it'll go up online for 2 weeks nationally. It'll come back to us. If we don't like what we get, we can actually send back and say, "Hey, we want $50 more." And if the buyer says no, then we can keep the item and take it down offline. Or they could say, "All right, yeah, we'll take it for that." Um, the It doesn't cost us anything to put it up there. The seller, or the company, the auction company, will actually add 10% on top of whatever it comes to. So if it's $100, they'll add 10% on top of that, and the buyer pays the 10%. So it doesn't cost the town anything to send it to auction. And then they'll actually just come down to the garage, pick it up from there, and go on their way. And then we'll receive a check from the auction company later on.
So Alan, we're not talking a lot of dollars here. It's just basically we're cleaning house a bit, correct?
Yeah, it's a lot of small items. There's 2 generators. I know there's 2 pumps. There's a hose test pump because the firehouse I know doesn't test hoses now for insurance reasons, but they had an old pump. So we'll sell that. The old Jaws of Life with the power pump. We have some really old barrel lights that we don't use anymore because we don't even have that many barrels left. And they've just been collecting dust, and I pulled them out of the attic and I said, we don't use these, and I don't really want to buy the batteries to fill them anymore because they're the old big square batteries. So it's just, yeah, kind of cleaning the house and get rid of some small stuff.
Alan, have we ever done this before with the auction?
So the first year, not with this auction company. Usually we go to Ritchie Brothers, and there's usually a percentage charged to even the seller as well as the buyer, a small percentage. So there'll be no percentage to us. So if it's $100 item, we get $100.
A lot of the government facilities have moved to the online auctions like this, and they have a lot of a good following, so it does bring up your revenue in the long run compared to shipping it to Ritchie Brothers up there. We're not ready to do anything with the ambulance yet, correct?
Not yet.
So that's not in here. All right.
Alan, now, you must have, Brett, we're not including the ambulance in this, correct? That's for down the road.
Yeah, that's for down the road. I do believe Logan's not quite ready yet. This is just some small items to hope. I have a meeting with him on the 9th, so next Tuesday. He's going to come down. We're just going to talk about it, how it all works exactly, besides over the phone. You can actually look it up. It's Auctions International. They got all kinds of stuff from New York right now. I did a quick look today. New York uses it a lot, a real lot. There's quite a few towns in New York that have actually items for sale, and it could be just a pickup truck and a generator. I mean, it doesn't have to be 100 items. It could just be 2. It's pretty neat how you can just look through and put a bid in right there if you wanted.
Okay, great. Any other questions for Alan?
No, just since auction items are on, now we added to the agenda, just when that ambulance comes due, it might be worthwhile talking to the school too, because they've been talking about the food truck.
Yeah, so I was asked about
switch out,
that.
and I know it came up at that last meeting.
So I was asked about that by both, last night, the capital committee meeting by Lisa Marzella, and I asked about it with Troy when I went to visit the grounds when they did the damage. We put so much time and money into the old ambulance, it might be in worse shape than the one that's there. I did talk to Alan about some repair work we could do on that ambulance. One is it's a diesel. And talking to Randy, we can have a plug that we can plug that thing in at night, which is one of the problems. It gets cold in the winter
With the
time.
existing one now?
The one we have now, it
Oh,
has a
okay.
plug. So it's a diesel. It gets cold. It doesn't get run a lot. I don't think it ran much all summer. So there was like, Alan had to take it around and kind of blow it, all the smoke out of it and so on. Sometimes there'd been some lights left on, but now Alan's disconnected all those, the multiple color lights that you had when it was an ambulance. Those can't be left on now because they're all disconnected.
Oh, great.
So I think there might be some preventative medicine, and if we can get Stacy Hughes, who's the one who drives it, just to remember that there's one switch to turn off when you're done. I think and then Randy said he would check to make sure on cold days that was plugged in. So I think we might be able to. Is that about it, Alan, on that?
Yeah, that was the biggest thing I know in the wintertime. I mean, its entire life it was in a warm building plugged in, ready to go at any moment, and now it sits outside in the cold. So it's definitely not used to it. And I can make I told Randy, I'm like, even like once a month, because it gets run every day for say a half an hour, just take it for a ride down the road and just clean it out. I mean, that's the worst thing of it smoking is you're starting up, it idles in the parking lot for a half hour, an hour, and it loads the exhaust up. It just needs to get run. It's used to being run, so it needs to get driven
Yeah.
a little bit here and there.
Diesels aren't meant to go short distances for short periods of time.
No, I think down the road it would make more sense to look at maybe a van for that.
Well, they are, it was a pretty large ask, so if we
Yeah.
had I know that when we talked about it before, the ambulance, they suggested like a $9,000, what we'd see if we'd get about $9,000 for it. And for that amount of value, it just might be worth it, but if the maintenance on the old one can be done and maintained, then that's.
Well, I mentioned to Troy too, if it does put it in the budget, and let's say it gets passed, he wouldn't have it until next year anyway, because it'd be in next year's budget. So we still got to get through this winter. So if we try this with the plugging in, it may solve that problem. Okay. It's still gonna probably be on the capital list, but at least we have an alternative now that we can.
One more thing, Alan, is this something you're gonna be looking for on like a regular basis, just as you go through stuff? Are you looking for older equipment that's just taking up space? I know we always have some things sitting around in equipment. Is it something you're going through in like inventory and say, hey, we can get rid of 20% of stuff sitting here?
There is some items. I mean, when I got hired, we got rid of a bunch of stuff. Like the old trailer, because like the guy said they hadn't been used in like 5 years. I'm like, all right, just get it out of the parking lot. No sense that it's sitting here. I did sadly when I got hired, me and Donnie did a good clean. This was just some stuff that was kind of like pulled out of the corner. There's not a whole lot left. I mean, we have like 4 or 5 pumps. I'd like to not get rid of them in case we do get into like some jobs where we need to move water, or God forbid we have a storm and we need it. Anything like that. I don't want to put ourselves in trouble with not having some stuff when it's nice to have. And I mean, it's old, it still runs. But yeah, so this is just some overflow stuff that we definitely don't need anymore.
There was the old, I think there was the old, speed sign or something that was sitting there when we went on that tour last, that
Oh.
basically it costs more to update it or switch out something. It was like the trailerable one. Is that there still?
Yeah, so that's the state police's. I was working with Jay with that. And I have to ask Jay and remember what we came up with. I think that has to go back to the state police. I know there's a solar panel inside that's got to go with it. But yeah, I mean, there's no more batteries in it. I know the charging system had a problem with it. I would like to get it out of there just to have the room in the overhang, just to store some stuff undercover.
And that
because we're
might
on
be
the
something
windows.
the state says, no, we don't need it anymore. And you can add it to your list if they give you the okay. So, all right, perfect. Thanks.
Okay, Alan, thank you for that. I guess we probably don't need a vote. I just want you guys to know that was what the plan was and we're good with that. Okay, good.
And I think with that, if we just put a link on our town page, because we've done it so long when we do sell stuff that we put those items on our page for people, residents to see, at least people understand, hey, we're still selling stuff, but now you have to do it online. So they don't think we just totally bypass the local residents too and did it.
And also make sure they know we're following some sort of a process.
Yeah.
You know, we're not trying to do something that's not ethical by any
Yeah.
means.
Perfect. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Alan. See you tomorrow. Hey,
No
Alan, you
problem.
still there?
Yeah,
Are we building a speed hump tomorrow?
we are.
Thank you. All right, I'm gonna let calls. I want to call you when it gets built. 298 ground discussion. So one thing that happened nice this week, every once in a while something nice happens. The alternative ed teacher contacted Alan and said, we're looking for things to do that aren't your typical schoolwork, as we know with the alternative school. And they asked if they could come and clean and maintain all the gardens around this building. They could weed, they could cut, they could trim, they could mow. We've already brought, how many, if you're still there, Alan, we already brought what, 1 or 2 barrels for them to fill with weeds and things. They've already done the garden over near the library and then working their way around the building. So
That's wonderful.
that's a nice
Yeah,
little.
I gave him a barrel, a couple of rakes, a couple of pairs of gloves. I know nobody wants to get their hands too dirty with the weeds and then go back to a classroom. We did dump a couple of barrels. They are working their way around the building, like Bob says. I haven't actually got a chance to look and see how they're doing, but we are gonna at some point go trim a lot of the bushes so they don't have to use the power tools. But they'll definitely be doing a lot of the other pulling and cleaning up and stuff. From what I gathered from what the guy said, they did do a pretty good job, and like I said, they already had 2 barrels out of the one garden.
Is this a one-time thing? or
No,
you
I think
wanna
they'd like
maintain
to,
this?
in the warm weather months, I think they'd like to do this kind of thing. It's good for them because it's a different activity than your typical schoolwork. Probably better than just going out throwing a football around. You're doing something that's both good for the town, good for the students. And as Alan just mentioned, we're not having them use power tools in any way. We don't want any accidents. So it's just what they can do.
That's really cool.
And the highway garage is working with them to
Saved
make
us the
sure.
money.
Yeah. I think it's a win. Okay. Doesn't mean this is the solution to our problems, Brett.
And I'm,
Don't get nervous about
once
this.
everything is cleaned up and then maybe in the spring, we can fill and have somebody come in and just do some basic perennials that are going to come back year after year that are easily maintained. That also might be just nice.
Yeah.
This is, I mean, it's incredibly visible from the road.
I'd
So
love to see them take on a project of actually building a garden to mimic the one near the library. It's about 3 feet long out along that new brick wall where we did the demo.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
just a flat brick wall.
Yep.
And since we seem to be keeping parking where it is in that cut through road where the pickleball courts are.
Yep.
Why not? We held off on doing that because we'd know we're going to have a parking lot up against the building, but it seems like now it's not trending that way. And if we did put a garden and we had to take it out, we could always take it out. But I think it would like nice to
Yeah.
mimic what's near the library. If you know that garden, it's against the building right here.
Yep.
So-
Did we talk at one point about putting a mural on that?
There was talk, but it didn't get a lot of run at the community conversation.
Okay.
What?
Okay.
Okay.
That's wonderful. I
So are
love
we
it.
still looking, I'm hoping we're still looking to put out the bid though, just to have numbers.
So
on it.
I think putting out the RFP, but I also think looking at all the alternatives, doing the RFP, see what it cost, looking for talk to the union, talk to the town garage, what works best. We know what we want to get done. It's how we get it done.
Right. And like I said, I'd like that RFP out and we voted on it, but for those informational purposes, especially going into budget season.
I think it's just a matter of writing that up correctly and what exactly is going to be in it. So if we can entertain that, when did you want to try to get that out? Because we wouldn't be actually doing much until the spring, right?
Right, but we talked about trying to get it out the end of October. So then
Okay.
we have those numbers, but the RFP would let people bidding know the work won't start till.
And we want the numbers to be projected to next spring because if we're
Correct.
putting them in our budget, we don't want escalation in the numbers.
Right, exactly.
Okay. Anything else on 298 at this point? No? Okay. Committee.
Oh,
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
yeah. Did you happen to talk to Highway Department about doing that parking lot out here with the millings like we did across the street?
I have
And-
not yet, Brett. I apologize. So I don't, maybe I did. Maybe I did. Might have done it in passing, but with Donnie coming and going, Alan's issue right now with his health is just wasn't something I really addressed at this moment. We did talk about the parking lot across the street a little bit. We're gonna bring some millings over there and let them play around with those. But as far as this one, not yet, but I think that might be a nice project to do. We haven't really addressed it yet. I appreciate the offer to think that would be something we would talk about because I think it would be a nice idea. I mean, the parking lot across the streets actually lasted and held up much better than I
Yeah.
thought it was going
Yeah,
to.
and if it's, we look at it as a something temporary to move forward, and this comes into, so if we do get a future steep grant, I know you wanted that parking here, and not only because they're expanding their rental potentially upstairs, but for our meetings and.
Voting and the whole, there's so
Exactly.
much more use of this building from this side now.
So if our highway department can do it somewhat inexpensively with millings for now, it might be that stopgap to get us to a year from, or probably 2 years from now, if you think about when the steep grants come out and.
I agree. If you notice, when we had that executive session with Preston a couple weeks ago, people were parked all over the place out there because, all right, thank you. Capital Committee update. We met yesterday and probably rehash what was happening in the first section of the Capital Committee. We talked a little bit more about maintenance. The Capital Committee seems to be embracing the kind of the layout that the selectmen have come up with as far as school capital and school maintenance and so on. Trying to just make a little more clarity on that. We talked about how the Board of Ed will present their the capital, just like the town garage and the fire company and the ambulance does. They're going to present to us on November 12th. So we'll have the written document on the 7th of October, but on the 12th is when we have the actual coming in and doing a presentation on their capital. Will be anywhere near as long as the presentation on the operating, because there's a lot less to it. Like I know the town garage isn't asking for much because they got their stuff last year. The ambulance really isn't asking for much because they already have a plan for the ambulance. So probably going mostly the school and the fire company. So that'll be on the 12th. But overall, I think our next meeting is on the 17th. We've asked Lisa to answer some of the questions that Sarah had asked me to dig into it, and I just haven't had time on how capital affects the school budget. And if it's assigned to the school budget, is it always part of the school budget? And then what happens if it doesn't get spent? Does it go back into undesignated funds? Does it artificially elevate the number in the school budget, and then you buy the capital, and then that number's already built in for the next year? We talked about what I think it's a minimum spending that once you have a school budget at a number, you can't go backwards. It can't, unless there's something big that happens with the enrollment or school closes. Once you have that, you have those minimum budget requirements that once the school budget hits a certain number, like say it's 15 million, you can't come in the next year at 14.5 unless something big has happened to the school to adjust that number. So if you inflate it through capital and it's part of their budget. So that's what Lisa's going to do, is to get a hold of, with Troy, get a hold of the State Board of Education and see how, if we do this, how it affects things. So we'll have more on that after the 17th of October. That's our next meeting. Any questions on that? Judy, anything with you on that? Are you good? Okay. State of the town discussion. So I know the Board of Ed. So I'm going to tell you about my weekend. It wasn't fun filled. I had a lot of work to do around the house, but one of my things on my weekend is I spent 7 hours watching the last 3 Board of Ed meetings, 2 hours, 3 hours, and 2 hours. I got up early and put my earplugs in and watched them. But there was a lot of discussion about what this the town discussion might look like. And I think if it's done right, I think it could be a really nice event. It's going to be very little talking. They're going to invite Heather and Greg for maybe 10 minutes each to tell us what's going on in Hartford, and no campaigning. I would probably spend 5 or 10 minutes talking about what you want me to talk about, the finer points that the Board of Selectmen feel like as we've accomplished in the town. The Board of Ed is going to do the same thing, but basically it's going to be things like tours of the school. We're going to ask all the town organizations like the Grange and the fire company and the fair, the library, if they want to set up tables, they can for informational purposes. I've got the list of all the new residents who bought houses in town over the last 3 years, because I send those welcome cards. So I kept those lists. I'm going to send invitations out to them saying, hey, you've been here 3 years or less. Do you know about this? Come to this, and you'll see, you can learn more about, the hours of different things like the transfer stations. You can find out what the Grange is and what they do. You can take a tour of the school. So I think if it's done right, and it's not done where no one wants to come and sit down and have people talk to them all the time, right? So we'll have to limit that. But I think if we present it in such a way that it's an event, especially if you maybe you've been in town for a number of years and you just haven't had kids in school in the last 15 years and you've never been in the new building, you might want to take a walk through the building and see what it looks like, since your taxes are help to pay for it. So that's basically it's Steph and Lisa are heading this up. I'll do what I can from our side. I'll try to get input from the other 2 selectmen as far as what they would like to add to it. It's not a mandatory that we all have to be there, but I think you're gonna see probably most of the Board of Ed and the Board of Selectmen there. We're not giving the Board of Finance a piece to this at this point because we're thinking we don't want this to be budgetary in any way. This is more of a feel good, come see what we're doing as a town type of night. The Board of Finance is gonna have plenty of time to star down the road in the budget season, but at this point, we don't want to try to attach dollar signs to everything that we're talking about. So it's more of an opportunity.
They already settled on a date.
Yeah, it's October 28th. And I think I'm not sure the time. Judy, do you know the time of that? Is it like 6 to 8 maybe? Okay,
Stephanie's on.
yeah. Steph's on. Hey, Steph, do you want to add to what I just said? Even though you didn't invite me to your last meeting, but you can still chime in if you want.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, good. I'm not sure how to unmute on my phone. Bob, you did an excellent job explaining it. I'm so sorry I didn't invite you to our last impromptu meeting.
I'm good.
The event was scheduled for 6 o'clock. We don't have an end time. We just thought it's a Monday night. It'll sort of naturally end. And I think you covered everything else. We're just really excited to start talking to people about it, get groups signed up so that we can start, I guess, including a little more meat in our marketing. So as we know what groups, what boards and commissions, when we know we have Heather and Greg, that sort of stuff, we can start telling people that as well. So thank you for your support.
Are we going to meet sometime later this week or next week, myself, you and Lisa, to formalize more things? Like who's doing what when, or I know you sent a kind of a schedule, but
Yeah, I sent that email that I sent you yesterday, I think gives a couple of options for meetings. So you just let me know what works for you.
okay, I'll look at it.
Okay.
Steph, do we know if that is on a day where there's no sporting events or anything like that would compete?
So right now it looks like there will be basketball conditioning running in the gym at the same time. I don't know, Nicole, it's a little too early to know exactly what the ECC and the state tournament games might look like and how far our sports teams might get. But for now, all that's on the school calendar is that basketball conditioning practice.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Stephanie.
I think it's a great idea. I love it.
I think it's great too. So I know there was some talk about, there's gonna be refreshments and some other stuff.
I
So
was
do
literally
we,
just going to ask
so
about food.
do we have money still left in our community
Community
conversation?
I know you'd have to ask that chairman. It's not me, but I
Or-
did hear that there was sort of some pick food at this thing, maybe cheese, crackers and cookies, and I'm not sure what else Steph had in mind.
Yeah.
Or actually, community conversation was last budget cycle. I don't know if we put anything in it this year, but do we have any room in our selectmen's expenses to cover small things like that? And if the Board of Ed has if we split some of those.
We may have some, I might be able to have like $200 or something. to throw
Right, I'm
at.
sure
I
that,
just have to make sure that we have our Christmas thing come up at the brewery. I did mention to you about the thing with the other night with Donnie.
Right.
I took care of that today. So I think there should be some, because I really don't spend any money out of that per se. So
and
we
it
should
shouldn't
have
be
some.
much. It should be minimal.
No, and I don't know if the high school classes I know have been at a lot of different events, the townwide tag sale, selling baked goods, because that might be something that is, I mean, you'd have to buy it, but at 6 o'clock, being dinner time for many, I think it would be good to have something.
Yeah, I think when
available.
we go to the yacht show and other things, when they're selling those things or a play, we usually buy them.
Yep,
So because
Absolutely.
now you're getting food, but also supporting so maybe the classes of 25, 26, 27, maybe they would, maybe that's a solution to food.
Well, I think we should have something
Yeah.
Something
provided
just-
because
yeah.
we are inviting the public to come to an event, but something minimal. So I don't know if we have to set an expense or you can just manage that, I guess. Because
Okay.
we don't, well, we'll meet one more time before that.
Yeah.
So we have the meeting on the
We don't need
15th,
to, if it's in a select, if it falls under selectment expense, we don't need to approve it.
No,
if It's minimal. like
especially if
that.
it's a couple $100. I don't
Yeah.
think it's a big
Okay.
deal. I did reach out to you on Sunday only because I did want your approval on that. But- Okay.
Do we anticipate this being an annual thing? I have heard you guys say that we did it before.
Yeah.
I don't
We
necessarily
used to do it in January.
remember, but okay.
It was after the holidays were over. We used to have, I think it was that time was Representative, was he a rep or Senator Menard? Andrew Menard.
He was a rep then.
And then it was, I think the last time we did it was with Heather and Kate
Diana.
Ratella.
Was it Kate? Yeah.
Yeah,
And
one
it was
time.
at the gym here. We mentioned that last, but yeah, they used to do it annually and then we kind of just
Well,
stopped with the
COVID
prior
probably-
administration.
COVID stopped a
too.
lot of things
think.
too.
Yeah.
All right, so that, and
that's
that's gonna be held at in the great, what do they call it? Great Hall across the way? Whatever they call that room where the tables are in the new high school?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where that will be, because that's where the tours will be. Okay.
That'd be great.
They said they might try to set up some sort of a babysitting thing in this room, but I'm gonna see if I can squash that. I don't know if I want with all this IT stuff with kids running around in
In
this
here
room, but yeah.
or in the library over there.
Oh, is it in the library?
Well,
But
no, I
they-
don't know,
Well, they
but that
said the
would make-
media center, so
That
I
would
was,
make more sense
I
to
don't,
me.
I don't know if I would.
Because
okay, they
then
probably
the
meant
kids will
that.
be across the street.
They said media center, so I was thinking this, but you're right, it's probably
Yeah,
that
it's
one.
probably over there.
Oh, thank God. Okay. All right, so any other discussion on that?
No, I think it's great.
Okay, I wanted to talk a little about town meetings. So what I did was to save you both the time. I went back from 2016 and I tried to just highlight all the town meetings between 2016 and now. And if you see, we had two in 2016. We have 3 in 2017, 3 in 2018, 3 in 2019, 3 in 2020, and then we had 7 in 2021. I think that was before we came on. We only took one of those was ours, November 22nd. Well, up until the other 6 were the previous administration. I think we said, oh, no, we're not going to have 7 town meetings because they start losing importance. We start dragging people out for town meetings. And then people saying, why am I coming out again? There was one on June 15th and one on June 29th. So, and then there was 3 in 2022, 3 in 2023, and so far 2 this year. So there's things that we're missing. There's 2 things that have been done annually, and they're on the other page. I sent you town meeting annual topics. One is the resolution to allow the Board of Selectmen to be authorized and empowered to obtain loans up to $1 million in the current interest rates in case there's a emergency. That happened on November 13th in 2017, May 21st, May 6th, June 27th, and October 2nd. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about dates for town meeting in a minute. So that happened, and it should happen every year. In 2020, there was not a lot of town meetings because that's when the governor said the Board of Selectmen could vote on. If you remember, that was the year they voted on the budget because of the pandemic. The next thing was the 5-year LoSiP plan. And most times that was done in the fall. As a matter of fact, if you see this 2 in 2021, there's March 23rd. That was actually the one that was supposed to be done in 2020, but it never got done. It would get done in March of 2021. Then this, got done again in October 5th of 2021. Well, that was for the next 5-year period, the 2022 to 2026. So in most cases, that happens later in the year. And again, we did it last year on December 4th. So I'd like to have a town meeting in November, and I'll talk to you about when we could have that. I just want to get your feedback to see if we can. So those 2 things we have to address. There's a few other things that I have to address too. And one is on this, we're going to have to get an appropriation for this grant that we have on the All Accessible Trail Grant that we have the $58,000 grant for, which is a 20% match, but that's being done by the town garage in their in-kind labor. But we still have to pay for it, and then we get reimbursed by the state. So I'm going to probably have to go to the Board of Finance for an appropriation of $58,000 like we do for the steep grant and we do for LoSiP grants. But then because it's $58,000, it's more than 20, I have to go to a town meeting. Second thing I need to go to a town meeting for is if you want to, and I haven't written the call yet. I'll get input from you 2 before I write the call in the meeting. The Armstrong Pentway, I think we decided when they came to us last that we didn't have an appetite to turn that into a town road. However, they're one of 8 roads that have minimum maintenance done to it, and 5 of the roads already have a grading piece to it, and Armstrong Pentway doesn't. And I'm going to ask if we can add the grading piece similar to Cedar and Patricia, and I can't tell you all 5 roads, but I think Wright's Road is one. They get graded once or twice a year. That's all the Armstrong Pentway people are asking for, is to get graded, because there are 2 people that are doing it are getting much older. We used to drop material and they move it around, but they're both one's in his 80s and one's in his 70s. So, and since 5 other teams already have that piece, I'd like to make that and ask to go to the town, because it was an ordinance done in 2016. Because it was done in 2016 at a town meeting, we have to go to a town meeting to change it. So we just can't do it on our own. And that was the 2016. It was a May 16th. May 9th meeting, I believe, in 2016. I could be wrong about that, but that's when that happened. No, maybe it was November 14th, 2016. That's when that happened. Ordinance change maintenance of private easements and rights of way, ordinance change limited maintenance agreement on some private roads, number 4 on that. So because it was, again, done at a town meeting, it has to go back to a town meeting to change an ordinance. And then I have to put a question, because it has to be advertised. I have to have a question. And when we do change an ordinance, can the town clerk put it in the newspaper with an abbreviated description? The last thing I would like to put, and this is going to take discussion by the 3 of us, because just because I want it doesn't mean you guys want it, is I think I want to start thinking about taking that cabin down at Hewitt Farm. We have money in the capital budget. It's been sitting there since Sean Murphy was in office. And I'm getting nervous about kids getting in there. It's the access to that building is very easy. It's a lot of dangerous things in the building. The town did mitigate all the PCBs and the asbestos, whatever was in there, out of there already years ago. I just think it's an eyesore. It would be so much to repair, and I don't want somebody getting hurt in it. And it's one of a few buildings in town that really probably should be taken down. There's a couple up on Wintershire Hill Road up near Wrights Road on the old Figdor property, but this is one that's very visible. And we can think about it. And when we go to write when I go to write the call of the meeting, let me know if you think that should be, talk about this on the 15th if you want, if that should be part of the call or not. And if there's anything else you want to address at the town meeting, please let me know that. So my dates, because there's certain rules about when you do a town meeting, what has to happen. Our meetings in November are kind of skewed because voting is a night that we would normally meet, November 5th. So our meeting got moved back to November 12th. And then our second meeting is November 19th. So it's the second and third week versus the first and third week. Then we have Thanksgiving at the end of the month. And because I have to advertise a town meeting for so many days, and even though it's a 5 days, but when you send it to the Westerly Sun, it still takes 2 or 3 days to get into the paper. So I was hoping to call the meeting on the November 12th Board of Selectmen meeting and actually have the town meeting on November 25th. It is Thanksgiving week, but it's also Monday. Thanksgiving doesn't really happen. It doesn't happen until Thursday. So I want you to think about that. That's the only time we can actually put this in unless we want to get into December. And most people don't want to go into December when it comes to town meetings. So we can't do it before then, because on the 28th, we've got this town event that Stephanie just talked about. I think the 21st is, we don't have time to do it on the 21st. The 5th that's voting on the 5th, and the town meeting on the 4th would be tough the night before, because this room's all going to be filled with voting machines. So I have to, and then I think I don't think I can do anything in this room within that week anyway, because of early voting, and we can't do things before. And really the only day we could do it would be November 25th, and I'd have to call it on November 12th. We call it on November 19th. I don't have enough time to do it on November 25th. So again, we don't have to talk about, we don't have to lock this in tonight. Just something there's things we have to do. There's maintenance we have to get rid of because we haven't done it yet this year. And I want to do it before we get into next year's calendar.
And Thanksgiving is that Thursday?
It's the Thursday, the 28th.
28th?
Yeah.
I mean, would we be losing people that might be out of town that week for Thanksgiving? Or, I mean, there's never a good.
I don't know if
I'm
people
not-
really travel that early in the week. Even college kids usually come home that Tuesday or Wednesday.
Okay.
So I don't think I don't think if that's that big a deal. It might be worse if it was the Monday after Thanksgiving, but I think the Monday before, everybody's still working and I don't think it's a big travel time until maybe that Tuesday or Wednesday, people start getting away. So again, think about the date, think about what we have to do. And I think there's this maintenance, and also look at the town meetings. It's pretty interesting to see. And I just, what I did was I didn't, do the exact call like the town shall, I didn't do every word in the call. I just kind of highlight what it was about. So you can have an idea, and we go back about things like fracking and there's quite a few things when we, selling the town buildings up at Clocks Falls, and
We always averaged around 3, except for 2021.
2021 was an awful lot, but we didn't do many in 2020 because of COVID. But I think that's doing 7 in 1 year. We all decided that was way too many town meetings. Because they lose their importance at that
So
point.
when are you looking for us to vote at our next meeting?
I'm thinking at the next meeting, discuss it, and then I'll actually do the call on the meeting on the 12th. But we discuss it for you to tell me what you want on the call. If there's something I mentioned, you say, let's not do that one, we won't do it. If there's something you think we want to add, we can. But I think that, so if let's say you find an ordinance that you think you want us to address, let's do it at that town meeting. And then we wouldn't need another town meeting to probably after the first of the year.
Okay. So one thing, as you went through your topics, one thing I would like to do is the Village Pentway. I know we had a lot of discussion on that, and there were other roads in the past. So I think of Cedars that was vocal in the past, not during our administration, but prior,
Mhm.
that really wanted the same thing to happen, the grading. I'd like to reach out to the people that spoke on that a few years ago and have them come to our next meeting maybe and voice their concern. Because I hate to go to the town with just the one.
If you pull up that order, Cedar's not part of that grading?
No, Cedars it
Did-
was much like Village Pentway. I think we would drop
Armstrong
millings.
Pentway?
Armstrong Pentway,
Yeah.
we would drop millings and then
So
they would have to, but
in looking at that November 14th back in 2016, I don't know why we would have just addressed limited on some private roads. I mean, I completely agree. What we do for one, it's only going to save us time and resources in the future if somebody else decides that it's too much to keep the grading up. I would be in favor of just making a blanket statement of, I would want to know how much more in the
cost of it,
budget
yeah.
that we're going to need to make sure is in there to provide. but-
Grading's not really expensive because we're just taking and grading the road. We're not adding material. We could add, we're giving them material
man
already.
hours, I guess. So
Yeah.
we'd have to kind
Yeah.
of know the man hours.
One thing to note, though, that there was only 8 private roads addressed at that meeting. There's other roads around the lakes, like Lakeside Drive and all those that are around Blue Lake. And there's a bunch of roads up near, like Island Drive, Mountain Drive up near off Billings Lake. We bring material, but we don't do any work on it. We just give them material and they move it around. So, but these 8
Those are
roads,
considered private.
those are all private roads.
Oh,
We're only talking about no town roads. Town roads we
Okay.
have to maintain.
okay.
So these are all roads that are not adopted as town
Yeah.
roads. But for some reason, Sean was the first selectman when this happened, and there was those 8 roads that were, I don't know whether it's because people brought them up. What we've been doing with roads that ask for material, if they want millings, we give them to them for free because we have millings. If they want, what I've been doing at the lakes, if they want gravel, processed gravel, it costs me $20 a yard, 6 yards per truck. I would usually give them 1 truck for free, but anything after that, they would have to pay for. So if they wanted 2, 3, or 4 trucks, they would have to pay for all the ones after the first one.
And we pay the trucking cost, basically.
Basically, that's our truck. So,
Right.
yeah.
So I think part of the reason we should discuss it, so we look at across the board and we're fair on it, but I think part of the problems we're running into is we see it all over the place with volunteerism. People aren't volunteering, people aren't helping out. So a lot of these people on these roads that for years have done the work,
Yeah,
maintained the
are older
roads,
now.
had the tractors to do it, are aging up and they just can't do it anymore. And it's unfortunately some people moving into the area or moving into that road might not have known the history and they just don't have that support to get this work done,
Mhm.
which,
No, I agree.
and there's no discount on their taxes for living on those roads.
No, but when you buy a house on a private road, you can't, it's like buying a house near the airport.
Oh, yeah, I understand. But
Mhm.
if we're talking about a few of those roads, I think if people have expressed concerns before, we should at least, just because one just did it last year, the ones that were told no in the past, maybe we just reach out and say, hey,
Well, since this ordinance is 8 specific roads, we should probably address that ordinance itself. If you want to create another ordinance for other roads down the road, we
right,
can
that's
do that.
different.
But these 8 roads that have already been addressed by the town once, those are the ones I want to readdress.
I'm
And we just
100%
make sure it's fair for everyone, that's
Yeah.
all.
That's all I have.
Where does Pine Woods fall on, it's a
We-
town road,
It
correct?
is, but we grade it, we fill the potholes, we do drainage work on that road. The residents on that road don't want it paved. Well, most of them don't. I shouldn't say that it's not all residents, but the vast majority don't want that road paved because they don't want speeding. You know, they call potholes, right? Inverted speed humps. So that's what, but they don't mind occasionally when the road's not in great repair because it keeps people driving slower. What they don't like is when people speed in the summertime when it's dry and the dust is flying, it's all
Yeah.
going in their windows. But some roads like Swantown's the same way. They don't want that paved. They don't want cars speeding up and down it. So it's really the residents that determine how that goes. I think the town would have paved Pine Woods years ago if the residents wanted it.
I had gone out and about for the townwide tag sale and was on Pine Woods and I
Do you know that
had a concussion by the time I reached the end.
I think that the most expensive house ever sold in the town of North Stonington happened on Pine Woods 2 weeks ago. It was sold by $2.95 million.
The big farm.
Yeah, it's the old Field of Dreams,
Yeah,
Mike Ward's
yeah.
farm. I think sold in the papers, 2,950,000.
Wow.
Yeah. It's on Pine Woods, so someone didn't care about the road.
Yeah.
But maybe it would have got 3 million if the road was Todd, but who knows?
So do we, I'm not opposed to, I think we can all think about what else we want on the call, but to me, moving into December is not an option for a
I
town
agree.
meeting and anything earlier. So in November with everything,
You know,
I think the 26th is the only,
25th.
25th is the only
You know,
likely date.
And I'll tell you, the early voting really cuts out it
Yeah.
cuts like half the month out. It's crazy how we can't use this room during early voting. So, and hopefully maybe that'll change down the road. Okay, so it's really just looking for input from the 2 selectmen at the next meeting, if that's possible. Tax refunds. Who would like to handle that? There's not many.
So I will make a motion to approve tax refunds totaling $736.82 to Robert Hass, Marcoux Brothers Trust, and Patricia Oaks.
Patricia and Jerome Oaks, yep. Do I hear a second?
A second.
Okay. Oh, you know, your small town is when you know everyone that's on the list. Oh, my God.
That's why we love it here.
Yeah, exactly right. I get when we're in a town meeting, we can call people by name in the audience. John, Judy, like them. All right, any other discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of approving the tax credits for $736.82, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, perfect. Old business, vacancy and appointments. So again, you have 2 things. You have a letter from the Conservation Commission. There's 2 members that need to be reappointed. Bill Ricker and Monica Dumont. And I don't see that letter, which I thought was in my packet. Is it in?
No,
your-
it is
Yeah.
the next one.
Yep.
So I'll make a motion to appoint Monica Dumont to a full 5-year term starting October 1st, 2024, and William Rickard to a 5-year term commencing November 1st, 2024 to the Conservation Commission.
I'll second.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'll let them know that typically we said when we do appointments in the past, if it's someone we don't know, we bring them in to introduce themselves, but we already had Margaret do that when we appointed her last year. And I think we all know who Bill Ricker is, so at this point. I will let them know that they've been reappointed and they need to get sworn in by the town clerk.
And
I'll
then
send-
I'll make a motion to appoint Suzanne Thoreau as deputy treasurer of the town of North Stonington.
I'll second.
Great, thank you for that. Any discussion? I'll just say, I think it's a great choice. I am happy that Treasurer is doing this. He's going away for a few days at the end of this week.
Oh, perfect. And we know your name, Suzanne?
Yeah, I introduced her at the beginning of the meeting. And Suzanne, you've actually done something like this before, right? In Chaplin? Have you been a treasurer before? There you go.
Yes,
You're
in
on.
the town of Chaplin, I was a assistant treasurer.
All right, I just gotta say something else. I know, let's vote on this thing. I guess I make a statement. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, I said to Suzanne the other day, what the heck would I have done without you? There's so much stuff coming in from the state saying, this is past due. Where's this report? Where's your LoSAP? I couldn't even tell you all the reports that I don't know how I would have done them or how we would have got those in. Luckily, we're not getting fined by these people for not getting these in, but every day Suzanne's going to me go, okay, Bob, there's a report. Where do luckily she knows what they are. I don't want to explain because that's be the blind leading the blind, right? But it's the two new people in town. We're going on a town tour tomorrow, by the way. If the two new people we have,
Do not wear heels to the.
Okay.
I'm not taking them any
transportation. I made
fields.
that mistake one day.
But we are so lucky. The interview boards did such a good job. Melissa, I can't say enough things about Melissa and Suzanne and what the job that they're doing and how they've picked up so quickly. And they're both kind of experts in their own field, like Suzanne with her maintenance background, her municipal background, and Melissa with her accounting background. She understands everything. And the two of them are constantly huddling. And at one point, Jen says, I don't think they need us anymore, Bob.
Yes,
So-
I do.
So I just want to say that publicly, Suzanne, that you and Melissa are a breath of fresh air. And I was saying at the COG meeting today that I'm so lucky to have these two new employees. So
I hope you didn't give their name out at the COG meeting, so
I couldn't
they don't,
remember.
they try to steal.
Yeah.
You can take.
Hands off.
no, I think we're good. So,
Yeah. we're very
all right.
lucky.
Any other public comment from anyone online or anyone in the audience? No, nothing online, Suzanne, that you can see? Okay. So our next meeting is October 15th, and we kind of alluded to some of the things that'll make that meeting probably a little bit longer than this meeting. Other than that, I'll take a motion for an adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
I second.
Second. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And we're going to